Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Douglas and I'm on the executive committee of the Rhode Island Democratic Women's Caucus. You may have heard of us because we've been getting a lot done this year. We make some good trouble everywhere we go. And what we do is ensure equality and power, influence, and economic status for all who identify as women. I am also a candidate running for state senate with the Rhode Island Political Cooperative. They're a grassroots movement of progressive candidates who vow to work for the people, not for lobbyists or corporations. And you should check out both tables back there along with a million other people who came out today, and I'm so happy that they're here. And I'm really excited to be here. The first time I came to a women's march 3 years ago, I came by myself. I knew no one. And I was here as part of an archives project recording the voices of women in this really historic time in history. And when I went home and listened to all of the recordings, it was amazing because there was one common theme. We were all afraid, we were all angry, and we did not know what was coming next, but we were ready to fight. And looking out here today, knowing so many of you now, after we joined this fight that we started all these years ago, I'm really proud. I'm proud of our accomplishments, I'm proud of the sisterhood that we formed, and I'm proud of our solidarity despite all of our differences. We collectively are proof that women get things done. Now I'm going to ask you all for more. Know that I am doing this not to call you out, but to call you in. To ask you to listen and to learn and to open yourselves up and hear the voices of marginalized women. The women whose voices don't always make it into the white spaces of privilege many of us inhabit. Black women, Indigenous women, women of color, trans women, disabled women, the women employed in sex work, and the women who've been oppressed by poverty. Because it's great, but we have a problem with feminism. Not because it isn't necessary, but because it's marketed as a catch-all phrase. And because it is marketed as a catch-all phrase, it is our responsibility to evolve into what that space is intended for, which is a space for all women's issues. We shouldn't have to have different ways of feminism before someone's problems are addressed. The point of intersectionality is to validate all women. And our organizing structures are built in a way that can rationalize harm and prioritize mainstream problems. And it's not a coincidence that all issues, big and small, are inherently a byproduct built within the white patriarchy, which willingly or not, white women have also benefited from. It is our responsibility now to put our sisters first. When we talk about marginalized women, especially women of color, specifically black women, you need to know that they are the ones holding together the pieces of a broken democracy and a broken economy, carrying the burden of poverty, inequity, and lack of access to resources, carrying that burden on their backs, in their hearts, and yet we consistently ignore their voices only to keep expecting them to save us from ourselves. In a country where 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump, yeah, we're the ones who have the work to do. It's time to remove the burden from the women who have been carrying it for far too long. How do we change a world where we can't pass bills ensuring access to doulas so black women don't die in childbirth? How do we live in a world where our elected officials can look at just one mother affected by poverty, asking for help combating the environmental racism that has plagued her community and has given her child asthma, only to ignore that human in front of them in favor of their own corporate interests? How do we tell our LGBTQ families that they can be parents, but not really legally, and certainly not easily, because we won't pass a parentage bill that is over 40 years out of date? How do we look at hungry school children, our children, every last one of them, because they all belong to us? How do we look at them and claim that we can't feed them? And how do we accept the world where our black trans neighbor has a life expectancy of only 35? How do we change that world? Vote! Damn straight. A friend of mine just told me that they can't entirely buy into feminism because people like them, who are brown and trans, just can't trust that these spaces will evolve, because that would mean waiting. And for them, there is no waiting, because the violence doesn't stop, trauma doesn't wait. Their survival depends on us proving them wrong. This needs to be our next fight. We need to commit to the mindset that one person's struggle is our collective struggle. We must rise together with the economic and environmental justice movement, together with the Indigenous sovereignty and the racial justice movement, together with the movement for LGBTQIA rights and the movement for citizenship. Humanity now more than ever needs to be our beacon. This coming year, take this pledge. Fight for marginalized women, vote for marginalized women, listen to marginalized women, elevate marginalized women, and believe marginalized women. I want all of you to put your hands on your hearts right now and let yourselves be guided by this mantra. From here on out, none of us are free until all of us are free. Thank you.